All right, we are live. Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of IBNW News, where we talk about what's going on from that Christian standpoint. And today we're covering something that has to do with the church. Now, if this is not your first time here, I do highly encourage you to like, share, and subscribe, as it really does help out in pushing this message. But if it is your first time here, no pressure. Go ahead and see if you like it or not. So we're going to go ahead and jump onto this. So obviously, oh, hello, Elaine. How are you doing? If you did not know, we love to interact. I say we, but really it's just me on here. But I love interacting with people who, when you make comments and things of that nature, I love that aspect of doing this live. So we're going to continue to keep on doing that. But as you can see here, we are going to be talking about Kathryn Krick. And no, she is not an apostle. That is a self-proclamation or self-term that she gives herself. We can go over that in another day. We did a video once on her before where she was using basically spiritual manipulation in order to tell people that, hey, I get the vision for how I run my church. You don't get the vision. I do. God gave it to me and nobody else knows it except for me. Basically, just a way of saying, do what I tell you and don't question me, because if you question me, you're questioning God. Once again, this is a time-old tale of cult-like mentality, spiritual manipulation. And someone made me aware of this video here, thanks to viewers like you. And we're going to go ahead and review a video where she makes the claim, and this happened about 6 months ago, that healing is not always going to be immediate. And we're going to examine that claim and bounce it against the Bible. Now, why am I doing this about Kathryn Krick? Everybody knows she's a little loopy, things of that nature. Well, obviously, if you look here on her YouTube, she has 898,000 subscribers. That is a lot of people. That is a lot of people that you are reaching. That is a lot of people that you are talking to that want to listen to her videos for the most part. That is a lot. Not only that, as she comes out with videos in full force, she has 2.9K videos. Mind you, the video that we're going to watch, it may look like I edited it. I'm not. I'm playing it straight from her page. She actually edits her own videos. Well, I don't know if she does or she has an editor, but it was edited in such a way where I thought it really made it worse. And honestly, this is just another way of identifying what I truly believe to be false teachers is even when they edit things, they're not doing themselves any favors whatsoever. So let's go ahead and jump into this and honestly just show why this is just so dangerous. If you have any issues with the sound, please let me know. We're going to go ahead and play some clips. We're going to pause and give some commentary as we go through. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Here is Kathryn Krick on why healing isn't always immediate.
Sometimes God doesn't heal immediately. Sometimes the healing is taking place in the spiritual realm, and it's just his will in the situation that it happens over time. Just like the people who had leprosy came to Jesus, he said, show yourselves to the priests. And the Bible says on their way to the priests, they were healed. So it was his will. It was his plan for them to not be healed immediately in the presence of Jesus, but to be healed later. They were.
Okay, so let's go ahead and pause it right there. If you didn't know, Kathryn Krick is known for enunciating her words very, very well. So if you can get over that, almost artificial type speech, then I apologize for it. So she goes ahead and gives a reference to Luke chapter 17, verses 11 through 19, where we see these lepers. And let's just go ahead and jump there into the Bible, because I think it's important that we look at this and look at it in context. And for some reason, I apologize, I did bring up the New International Version. I usually use the NASB or New King James or one of those, but we'll go ahead and use the NIV, because honestly, it's not bad in the NIV for this one. So jumping on, now on his way to Jerusalem, Jesus traveled along the border between Samaria and Galilee, and he was going into a village. Two men who had leprosy met him. They stood at a distance and called out in a loud voice, Jesus, Master, have pity on us. When they saw him, he said, or when he saw them, he said, go show yourself to the priests. As they went, and they were cleansed. Now, why did Jesus not heal them immediately and tell them, go yourselves to the priest, go show yourselves to the priest? Well, ding, ding, ding. If you're a student of the word and you actually put some thought into what you were talking about, you would realize that Jesus, who completely fulfilled the law, knew the law backwards, inwards, everything else, was pointing to a passage in the Bible, specifically Leviticus chapter 14. I believe verses, I can't remember. Leviticus chapter 14, I think it was in like the first 5 or 6 verses there. And in that, Jesus is basically pointing to the law where it says, hey, if you have leprosy, go present yourselves, go outside the camp. The priest will present yourself to the priest, things of that nature. This was part of the law. This was what you were supposed to do. That's what Jesus was pointing to. It wasn't because he wanted to do a delayed healing, as you are going to find out. But let's keep reading on the passage just so we can get it into its context. When we saw them, he said, go show yourself to the priest. As they went, they were cleansed. Now, she makes this seem as this was some type of a delayed healing, as in it, took a little bit longer, as in maybe days or things of that nature. She doesn't say that, to be fair. She doesn't say that. But this seems like they were still healed pretty immediately. Like literally they turned around, started walking, and probably some ways down the road. We don't know how long it was, but it couldn't have been that long because those men were healed. It could have been seconds afterwards. It could have been maybe an hour or so. But what we do see is in verse 15, one of them saw that he was healed and came back praising God in a loud voice. So he was able to go down the road, be healed, and then turn around and go back to Jesus and basically thank him for being healed. So obviously, the man did not get very far down the road. At least that's what we are led to believe based upon the passage here. And then it says he threw himself at Jesus' feet and thanked him, and he was a Samaritan. Jesus then asks, were not all 10 cleansed? Where are the other 9? Has no one returned to give praise to God except this foreigner? Then he said to him, rise and go. Your faith has made you well. All right. So there we are. There we have it. That is the passage. Once again, she tries to say that this was a delayed healing. No, Jesus was just pointing them to the law, as he was perfectly always upholding the law to go and present yourself to the priest. And once again, who knows how delayed this healing was, because it happened as they were walking back. Once again, it could have been seconds. It could have been, well, it seemed like they got far enough away where they were out of sight, but it wasn't that long afterwards because the man was able to run back. Regardless, even if it was maybe a delayed healing, it took days or things of that nature, listen to the rest of her words and what she says, because it's going to honestly just open up more lies on what she is preaching about healing. And obviously, this is all, in my personal opinion, either she truly believes what she's saying, which I think would make her a little crazy, or she's just after money. One of those two. And that is my opinion. My opinion. So let's go ahead and jump into it.
They were healed in the spiritual realm, but they didn't see it physically till later. So in the same way, for
Okay, so she says, she's mentioned this twice now, healed in the spiritual realm. Where is that in the Bible? Can you find me one verse where it talks about we are healed in the spiritual realm? This is once again just language used by the New Apostolic Reformation, who want to basically, and like I said, I think either one, they're crazy because they believe this, or two, they want to manipulate people into thinking, oh, the healing has already happened in the spiritual realm. And then she's going to go on to say, and little spoiler alert, basically, you have to unlock that healing. And listen the way she says this. Once again, that's not in the Bible anywhere.
for some people, in some cases, that's just how God is doing it. And many times this is a way that God wants to test one's faith to see if you will apply the principles he's taught and be obedient and have faith and trust him. And then, of course, there can be some situations where a key.
Okay, before we let her continue on, it is a biblical case you can see in the Bible many times where Jesus has healed somebody. And just like our passage in Luke chapter 17, where I paused on a really bad part, but where Jesus, oh my gosh, now I'm all distracted, but where Jesus, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sorry. Let me move this a little bit.
He needs to be.
Okay. Uh, anyways, it is true. You see passages like the one we just read where Jesus was basically saying, your faith has made you well. Because of their faith, they were made well. Sometimes I think people who are more of the cessationism realm will want to realm. I just said realm. That's New Apostolic Reformation language of the cessationist space. Will want to say basically like, hey, look, they'll try to because I've been there. Trust me, I know. Like to try to downplay that. Now at the same time, you can't really deny it because it's in the Bible. People's faith made them well. Jesus healed sometimes according to people's faith. At the same time, we see other examples in the Bible where people were healed regardless of their faith. So you can't say it was always going to be a test of someone's faith and just wait because she's going to go ahead and kind of put the boot in her mouth as we go along. And real quick before we keep going, let me just go ahead and take some comments on this. So E put, she sounds like those new age people. Very correct. She very much is. We have Steven over here says, is she just acting all through this? I know people really believe her, but it looks like she doesn't even believe herself. And, funny thing, and I'm not going to point to what I don't know the truth is, but there is truth behind the fact that Kathryn Krick always wanted to be an actress. You see this a lot when it comes to these uh eccentric faith healing type people. Kathryn Krick wanted to be an actress. You had Benny Hinn, who wanted to be an actor. You had Catherine Coleman, who wanted, basically that Hollywood actress style, very theatrical. This is something that you see kind of common. It's almost like a trend, you can say. Rita actually calls it out right here. She was an actress. Elaine says she has to have a plan, a lame explanation to cover her base when no one is instantly genuinely healed to keep the money coming in. It's all about the money. Linda Burgess says, I have several opinions about her. I will say that she is scary. Rita puts, people are drinking her Kool-Aid. And Linda Burgess says she has Kenneth Copeland eyes. Yes. Clinstagram says her act is so elementary, it's not even believable. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's go ahead and keep going through this video. I'll go ahead and rewind a little bit so that way we can stay caught up and in context.
Obedient and have faith and trust him. And then, of course, there can be some situations where a key needs to be unlocked still in the spiritual realm. And then another instance.
There it is. She says a key needs to be unlocked in the spiritual realm. Once again, where is that in the Bible? And normally, when you hear them preach on this, they're going to say that this key is unlocked by you giving them money. And we're actually going to show some video proof of that after this is over.
Can be for the purpose of God knowing one's heart and God seeing that their heart has some growing to do. And God can see sometimes some person.
Okay, this is going to be really funny. I know I keep pausing it, but I want you to pay attention. So she says that God will withhold the healing because there is some spiritual growth that needs to happen. Okay, that I don't agree with you, but okay, sounds good. But just wait until later on because she's going to completely contradict herself by what she says afterwards.
Person will be led to go to a ministry where God's power is, and so much so because they really need God's power. They need healing, they need deliverance. And that's a big reason they go there. They love God, yes, but maybe there isn't a complete surrender or complete maturity in the heart. So much of their motive is to receive the healing and freedom. Their number one motive isn't to seek God and serve him, period. Their number one motive, number one desire is to receive healing and deliverance. And maybe number two, to serve God. And so even though one loves God truly, but maybe they've not grown to a place where God needs them to be. So God can see in the spiritual realm that the devil will tempt them to leave the ministry where God's power is once they have received their healing and freedom. God can see that sometimes. And so God is really saving a person from a life that's where they were deceived by the enemy and they're not surrendered to God. He's really saving them by not bringing the complete healing or freedom immediately because he sees ahead what would happen. And so he uses that like desire and seeking for complete healing and freedom and them keeping on coming to change them, to begin to transform them until they are ready. They are ready to be completely healed and freed. He sees that they won't go away once they are healed or freed. That's not every situation. There's many people that can come to the church and they're not not even surrendered to God, but God's power hits them and they're so convicted. They're so enamored.
Okay, so she just gave this lengthy explanation on why God will withhold a healing because somebody is heart's not in the right place. They're seeking after the healing, not after being obedient to God. Blah blah blah. Keeps going on that, and then all of a sudden says, and then sometimes people will just get healed even though they're not being obedient or seeking after God. Do you see the contradiction there? Do you see the contradiction that she's laying out? Like, does she even believe her own words? Obviously there's almost a million people out there who do lean on her words because they're subscribed to her. I can't tell you just how foolish this sounds, but yet there are people out there that will buy this. Why can't we just admit that these people can just admit that sometimes God chooses not to heal because healing was never something that was promised to us on this side of heaven, on this earth. Tell that to the Apostle Paul, who received many, many horrible things in his life while being a slave to Jesus Christ. But guess what? Where the real healing comes in. That is in our spirit, and it is made manifest when we are with Christ in heaven. That is the true healing. When we receive also our resurrected body on the return of Jesus Christ, that is real physical healing. Everything on this earth is temporary. Jesus went and healed somebody. That person was still going to die physically on this earth. Now, if they believe in him, they'll be raised in life again and live with him forever. But people were going to die. And that kind of brings up a good point. Like, I've always wondered about like people like Lazarus, or if you remember reading the book of Matthew when it talked about right after the crucifixion of Jesus and when Jesus was in the grave and rose again, how there were other saints that rose and walked around the city. Honestly, I was wondering, I'm like, what happened to those people after that? Did they just die again, or did they, ascend after Jesus? And I was always weird because they just kind of left it off. I'm like, come on, Matthew, you got to give it to us, man. But anyways, let's keep listening on.
Enamored by God's love that even though they're a baby Christian, they're not going anywhere. So it just depends on the situation. God sees these things that we don't know, that we don't see. So that's why we just trust him. That's why if we don't see a healing manifest immediately, we don't blame God. We don't question God. We just trust him and we just do our part, the simple part that we have of just believing him and obeying him, doing what he has told us to do, applying the principles, his principles and his word.
Okay, while 99.9% of everything is wrong, the broken clock is right twice a day. And she is true when she says, as the true thing that we as Christians need to do is look to what Jesus is saying, follow him, make him Lord of our life. And I'm probably being much more gracious with my words than I probably should be, but that's the truth. But it doesn't matter when it's built on a bedrock of lies, which, is what Kathryn Krick is doing.
And we leave the rest to him. We don't go and try to figure out. We don't go and be consumed with like confusion of why we're not seeing it happen yet. We just trust him.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get out of there. I want to show you a video, and this comes from, and I linked this guy's YouTube. I couldn't find it on YouTube. It's on there somewhere, but I found it on his Facebook. So this comes from All Things Theology. It's a smaller YouTube channel, good YouTube channel though. From what I've seen, I haven't watched all of his stuff or even a lot of it. It's relatively new to me, but it was enough to where I've seen, and I kind of like this guy's stuff. Well, he found this video clip of Kathryn Krick basically charging people for their healing. Why isn't this demon being delivered from this woman's son? And she basically asks about, are you giving money? Because that's where it always leads back to. Let's go ahead and play it.
Everything that comes through my hands for the last 2 years,
10%. God. So this woman saying, hey, for the last 2 years, I've been sowing. I've been giving my money, right? And Kathryn Krick she responds, well, that's only 10%. Let's go back a little.
For the last 2 years,
10%. God's saying more.
Okay.
Because 10% was what's God. So she's saying, hey, you got to give more than 10%, honey, if you want this blessing, right? The 10%'s God's. And I never got that from tithing. I never got that, like how that made any sense. God only owns 10%. I thought he owned everything. But that's another topic for another day. Notice the manipulation.
He makes a really good point. And here he's going to talk about the manipulation.
And you know what the crazy thing I just thought of this? The demon's apparently calm during this interaction with the mother and the Kathryn about money. The demon's like, I gotta see how this is gonna go. I might get cast out if she gives more than 10%. I gotta hear what's going on.
So now we need to sow specifically for his deliverance and speak. This is for his deliverance and a good amount. If there's a good amount given to psychics, it needs to be a good amount.
So she's saying, hey, if you've been given a good amount to psychics, you need to give a good amount, for deliverance.
That's the key that needs to unlock.
Okay, so I'm not going to play any more of that. I think you get the entire point of what we're trying to say here. So once again, Kathryn Krick, somebody who honestly we should not be following at all. Not a good Christian role model, anything of that nature. Honestly, I am very hesitant to use the term false teacher with people. I don't throw that around flippantly. Honestly, she is a false teacher. That is very, very plain. And what we need to do, just like I say for every false teacher, is pray that she believes in the true gospel of Jesus Christ and that she submits to the lordship of Jesus Christ. She renounces this ministry. She stops calling herself an apostle. She stops calling herself a pastor because she's not biblically sound. So let's go ahead and take a couple comments, and then we're going to go ahead and get on out of here. Just a shorter one for today. So Ira asked the question, did she study at Bethel Healing School? Talking about BSSM, Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry. Yeah, that's a school you want to go to. No, she did not. So she, and I believe somebody actually already said it in the comments, but she was basically part of this I can't remember the guy's name. Somebody mentioned it in the comments. I can't find it right now. But basically, this one other false prophet apostle anointed her to be an apostle. And that's where she claims her authority comes from, but it's because this man anointed her to be an apostle. And there are a lot of videos out there on that man. I think Revealing Truth has some stuff on it. I believe the Messed Up Church also does as well. I mean, there's a lot of good YouTubers out there that do a good job of exposing someone like Kathryn Krick. And honestly, this is low-hanging fruit. This should be easy stuff for Christians to spot out. So why do we do what we're doing right here? Honestly, that is because I truly believe that as Christians, we should shed light on the darkness and not just keep that to ourselves. We should spread that out to other people. So if you know somebody who is in this camp that you love and care about, send them a video like this. It doesn't have to be mine. They're, like I said, Revealing Truth, the Messed Up Church, All Things Theology. They have videos on this as well. Send them theirs. I don't want to think I have a monopoly on this because this darkness needs to get light shined on it because it's not the gospel. Clintstagram puts Ephesians 5:11, which is the verse that clearly says to expose those deeds of darkness. A lot of people say, hey, you're just heresy hunting. Why do you only concentrate on false teachers? Ephesians 5:11 literally says expose those deeds of darkness. That is what it says. He also says Long for Truth channel. Yes, that is another one that does good work in this area as well. And Linda Burgess writes, cult leader, absolutely. E puts, question, do you still pray for people who do not repent and do not want to change? Honestly, so I do, because I don't know who is to inherit salvation. I don't know who God is going to sovereignly reach down in and change the heart of somebody. Now, do I sit there and pray? Let me be honest. Do I sit and pray for Kathryn Krick every single night? No, I don't. But when it does come to my mind, and like after this episode, I'll go ahead and say a prayer because I do believe it is important that we pray for our enemies. We pray for people who are lost because once again, we don't know who's going to inherit salvation. I've been told before that is a wasted prayer. You should stop praying for those people. I personally don't see that in the Bible, so I'm going to continue praying for people when I feel that prompting to pray for people. But hopefully that answers your question, E. Rita puts, I think she's hiring people to bow to her. It's all Hollywood, and I agree. Oh, Clintstagram, this is a really good comment right here. We hunt heresy, so heresy doesn't hunt our people. That's very good, very good. Vocal Pelican, nice to see you back on here, Vocal Pelican. You put KK is an actress, a poor one at that. Absolutely. Elaine affirms that Long for Truth is an excellent YouTube channel to follow. Clintstagram says, pray for all you believe in, even when it's frustrating. Absolutely. Absolutely. Blessed Drove says, God never gives up on sinners, so why should we? And then Elaine puts, she uses a lot of actors. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start closing up here. I love the participation in this one tonight. Thank you so much. Again, as always, I truly do love you, and keep shining light into that darkness. I guarantee, if you're anything like me, you probably have some friends that lean towards this side of stuff, and it breaks my heart seeing them get deceived by false teaching such as this. But just like, the Bible does say in, I believe it's 1 Timothy, there are people that are going to be deceived, seeking after doctrines that tickle their ears. And honestly, the best that we can do is preach to them the real gospel and pray for God once again to sovereignly reach down and change a heart. All right. Well, anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I love y'all. Y'all have a wonderful day, and I will see y'all on the next one. Thank you once again.